We are counting down the top 10 turntables from the golden age of high fidelity. Machines that still command respect and high price tags decades after their release. From entry-level gems perfect for beginner restorers to legendary models born in professional studios, each deck on this list earned its spot through a mix of sonic performance, enduring engineering, and passionate communities. Which 80s icon remains unbeatable after 40 years? Let us begin with number 10. Dual's CS-5052 landed in 1984 as an affordable entry point for music lovers ready to try their hand at vintage hi-fi. German engineering gave it a reputation for reliability, but what really set it apart was how approachable it made the world of turntable restoration. The CS-5052 uses a semi-automatic belt drive system and a simple switch mechanism, so first-time tinkerers can replace a worn drive belt or clean up a tired start and stop switch with basic tools. Essential parts like belts and stylus replacements are still widely available, often for less than $20. On the used market, a complete unrestored example can be found for as little as $150, while a fully refurbished unit with fresh rubber and a working cartridge might fetch up to $300. Performance specs hold up surprisingly well. Rumble is rated at -68 decibels, wow, and flutter at ±0.15%, which means quiet backgrounds and stable pitch. For anyone curious about breathing new life into a classic deck without risking a paycheck, the Dual CS-5052 offers a low-risk, high-reward introduction to 1980s hi-fi. Denon's DP-3000 brought Japanese quartz-locked direct drive technology into reach for serious listeners who wanted more than a basic belt drive. Its servo-controlled motor, anchored by a quartz reference, delivers speed stability measured at wow and flutter of just ±0.03%, which is several times tighter than most budget decks of the era. Quick startup and precise speed changes became possible thanks to the direct drive design. While the electronics inside, though robust, have now reached the age when a capacitor recap is often needed for continued accuracy. For owners, a routine recap and a fresh application of bearing oil can restore factory-level performance without breaking the bank. Service parts remain available, and the DP-3000's modular construction makes these jobs approachable for a careful hobbyist. On today's used market, a fully restored example typically sells between $400 and $700, offering a significant value step up in precision and reliability. While it doesn't carry the studio pedigree of the Technics SL-1200, its quartz lock and low-maintenance motor make the DP-3000 a standout for anyone seeking cost-effective, long-term vinyl enjoyment. EMT's 930 turntable stands apart as a tool built for broadcast studios, not living rooms. Introduced in the late 1970s, it was engineered with a single purpose: absolute accuracy, hour after hour, for professional archiving and radio transmission. The heart of the 930 is its massive platter, over 10 kilograms of balanced inertia, spinning on precision bearings that keep rotational error below the threshold of human hearing. Wow and flutter measure ±0.02% or better, a figure that even the best consumer decks struggle to match. Rumble is vanishingly low at -78 decibels, ensuring the quietest backgrounds for delicate archival work. Every design choice, from the idler wheel drive to the stroboscopic speed indicator, reflects the demands of studio engineers who could not tolerate pitch drift or mechanical noise on air. Yet owning an EMT 930 today is no easy feat. Original parts are scarce, and specialist restoration often exceeds $3,000, with many examples requiring custom machining or rare component sourcing. Collectors value these machines for their uncompromising performance and their role in preserving musical history. The engineering of the 930 remains a benchmark, a reference point for what turntable design can achieve when cost and complexity are secondary to precision and reliability. Micro Seiki's RX-1500 stands as a testament to Japanese precision, where engineering ambition met audiophile demand for absolute stability. The RX-1500's platter, weighing in at a formidable 18 kilograms, delivers an inertia few turntables then or now can match. When set spinning at 33 1/3 revolutions per minute, and with the motor switched off, the platter can coast silently for over 5 minutes before coming to a stop. This is not just a party trick. It is a direct result of micro-tolerance bearing work, with spindle play measured at less than 0.005 of a millimeter. Such tight tolerances mean the RX-1500 shrugs off groove drag and stylus resistance, maintaining constant speed under real-world listening conditions. The bearing assembly itself is a marvel, but it comes with a caveat. Specialist servicing is essential. A full bearing rebuild, often needed after decades of use, can run anywhere from $400 to $700. It requires access to an ever-shrinking network of Japanese parts suppliers. Still, the RX-1500's design is robust enough that with proper care, many examples remain close to factory spec even 40 years on. The market reflects this reputation. Used prices typically range from $2,000 to $3,000, and values have remained remarkably stable as collectors recognize the rarity of such uncompromising engineering. For those who value mechanical silence and rotational accuracy above all else, the RX-1500 offers a different vision than suspended decks. Its mass-based approach, rooted in the broadcast tradition but executed with consumer finesse, bridges the gap between studio reliability and high-end listening room artistry. The only real barriers are weight, cost, and the patience needed to keep such a precision instrument at its best. Technics SP-10 MK2 stands as the direct drive reference point for serious studios in the early 1980s. With a 7-kilogram platter and quartz-locked servo control, it delivered speed accuracy that left most consumer decks behind. The wow and flutter specification, just plus or minus 0.025%, was not marketing hype but a measured reality confirmed by phase noise plots from broadcast labs. This level of stability mattered for archiving, mastering, and radio, where even the smallest pitch drift could ruin a take. At the heart of the SP-10 MK2 is a sophisticated servo loop architecture that constantly monitors and corrects platter speed, eliminating the micro variations that colored lesser designs. The plug-in power supply and modular electronics made it possible to isolate noise and swap components for service, an approach more common in professional tape machines than home turntables. Owners today prize the SP-10 MK2's bulletproof motor and ultra-low phase noise. But keeping one at its best is not a casual affair. Restoration almost always means a full capacitor recap and a careful motor inspection, with typical service costs running $400 to $800 depending on condition. The parts market is active. Original power supplies, replacement servo boards, and platter mats all command a premium among restorers. The SP-10's pro-grade precision set the template for the later SL-1200, but it never developed the consumer upgrade culture or DJ following. Instead, its legacy is one of uncompromising speed accuracy and modular engineering. A deck that outruns many rivals on the test bench, but sits mid-table here because its professional focus kept it out of most living rooms. For those who value near-perfect pitch and a lineage rooted in the studio, the SP-10 MK2 remains a benchmark, and a reminder that direct drive, when executed at this level, is anything but ordinary. Thorens TD-160 holds its place as the quintessential suspended chassis turntable for audiophiles who value isolation and musicality over flash. Introduced in the late 1970s and produced through the mid-1980s, the TD-160 uses a 3-point elastomer spring suspension that floats the platter and tone arm above the plinth. This design isn't just for show. It actively shields the stylus from footfalls, speaker vibrations, and household rumble, preserving bass clarity that rivals far pricier machines. When the original grommets harden or crack, though, the deck's isolation breaks down and bass becomes muddy. A full grommet replacement and bearing service can restore the TD-160's performance to near new, pushing rumble down to -72 decibels and keeping wow and flutter within ±0.2%. Routine maintenance is simple but essential. Owners swear by bearing oil rituals, just a few drops of the right lubricant refreshed every few years can extend the life of the main spindle and keep noise at bay. The TD-160's bearing design is robust, but running it dry or with old oil can accelerate wear. Tone arm compatibility is another draw. The deck's standard cutout accommodates classic arms like the SME-3009, which opens the door to a wide range of cartridges and sonic signatures without major modification. Buyers should check for smooth, silent platter rotation and look for any play in the spindle. Hardened or collapsed suspension grommets are easy to spot. If the platter sits unevenly or the sub-chassis feels loose, a rebuild is due. Expect restoration costs between $600 and $1,000 for a thorough service with quality parts. On the used market, a restored TD-160 commands $600 to $1,600, reflecting its reputation as a workhorse that rewards careful stewardship. For those willing to invest in proper upkeep, the Thorens delivers a level of isolation and bass articulation that's tough to match, making it a perennial favorite among audiophiles who want substance over status. Rega's Planar 3 arrived in the late 1970s as a direct challenge to the idea that great sound demanded complicated engineering. Built around a low-mass, rigid plinth, the Planar 3 shunned the elaborate suspended chassis of rivals like Thorens, and instead bet on simplicity and precision. Its standout feature, the RB300 tone arm, used carefully calculated geometry and an effective mass of just 9 grams, making it a perfect match for high-compliance moving magnet cartridges. With the right pairing, the Planar 3 delivers mid-range clarity and vocal presence that still outpaces many modern decks, especially on well-recorded pop and rock from the 1980s. The deck's wow and flutter specification is ±0.2%, a figure that, while not class-leading, is more than adequate for musical stability. Belt changes take less than a minute and cost around $30, keeping service costs low. Owners rarely face complex repairs because most issues come down to a stretched belt or worn tone arm bearings, and even a tired example can be restored for $300 to $500. Used prices reflect the model's enduring appeal, $600 to $1,000 for a clean, restored unit, depending on condition and cartridge. Unlike the tweak-heavy Linn LP12 or the isolation-focused Thorens, the Planar 3 offers little in the way of upgrades. What you buy is what you own, and that is part of its charm. The minimalist approach means fewer things can go wrong, and a direct, lively sound rewards careful cartridge matching. For buyers seeking a no-nonsense deck that nails vocal clarity and mid-range detail, the Planar 3 stands as a masterclass in doing more with less. Technics SL-1200 MK2 didn't just survive the 1980s, it defined them. Released in 1979 and built by the millions, the MK2 became the first turntable to bridge the gap between home hi-fi and the raw demands of club DJ culture. The secret was in its servo-controlled, quartz-locked direct drive motor, which could fling the platter from a dead stop to 33 RPM in just 0.7 seconds. With a wow and flutter rating of just plus or minus 0.12%, the SL-1200 MK2's speed stability set a new standard, not just for DJs, but for anyone who wanted their records to sound tight and alive. The pitch fader, with its plus or minus 8% range, let DJs beat match with surgical precision, turning the SL-1200 into a musical instrument as much as a playback device. In the hands of club pioneers, the turntable proved indestructible, surviving spills, bumps, and endless nights of queuing and scratching. For home listeners, that same ruggedness translated to decades of trouble-free use. The deck's torque was legendary, even with a heavy record and a firm hand on the platter. The motor held its speed, shrugging off groove drag and finger pressure. What keeps the SL-1200 MK2 in the top 3 isn't just nostalgia or DJ myth. It's the fact that 40 years on, every part, from the tone arm to the servo board, can be sourced or upgraded. Aftermarket mods abound. Audiophile tone arms, isolation feet, upgraded power supplies. Restoration costs are refreshingly sane, with most tired examples returning to spec for $300 to $500 in parts and labor. Used prices reflect this reputation, ranging from $700 for a solid runner to $1,200 for a mint-serviced example. With over 10 million units built, the SL-1200 MK2 offers a unique value proposition, bulletproof engineering, a global parts network, and a rhythmic drive that still puts modern decks on notice. It's edged out of the very top spots by the ultimate in audiophile refinement, but for pure stability, durability, and musical energy, the Technics SL-1200 MK2 remains a legend, one as at home in a living room as it is in a DJ booth. Oracle's Delphi MK2 arrived in 1982, instantly setting itself apart with an acrylic chassis that seemed to float above the competition, literally and sonically. The 3-point suspension, supported by precision springs and a hybrid platter, was engineered to absorb vibration with a finesse that rivaled anything from Scotland or Switzerland. The clear, jewel-like design was not just for show. Every element, from the inverted bearing to the optical speed monitor, was chosen for both performance and visual impact. Rumble was measured at an impressive -74 decibels, keeping backgrounds inky black and letting imaging details shine. The Delphi's platter, a sandwich of acrylic and alloy, further damped resonance, helping the Mark II earn a reputation for a holographic soundstage and pinpoint imaging, traits that still draw collectors decades later. Restoration and ownership carry a different set of expectations than mass-market decks. While the Mark II's architecture is robust, a proper overhaul, including fresh suspension springs, new bearing oil, and careful calibration, typically runs between $700 and $1,200, especially if you are sourcing parts compatible with later Mark V upgrades. Many owners choose to retrofit Mark V suspension kits, as Oracle has kept backward compatibility alive, ensuring that even early examples can be restored to near-modern standards. The used market reflects this blend of rarity and ongoing support. A clean Mark II commands between $2,000 and $3,000, with top condition or upgraded units fetching even more. For audiophiles who value both sonic precision and visual artistry, the Delphi Mark II stands as the ultimate suspended benchmark before the modular supremacy of the LP12. Its imaging strengths and low-noise floor make it a favorite for listeners chasing that elusive three-dimensional soundstage. While the Oracle ecosystem is smaller than Linn's, the Mark II's unique combination of performance, upgrade path, and aesthetic makes it a legend in its own right, one that rewards careful restoration and delivers a listening experience as striking as its design. The Linn Sondek LP12 emerged in the 1980s as the turntable that refused to stand still. Its suspended sub-chassis, supported by 3 springs and elastomer grommets, isolates the platter and tone arm from external vibrations. This design isn't just theory. Upgrades like the improved main bearing cut rumble to -79 decibels and wow and flutter remain tightly controlled at ±0.15%. The result is a platform where the stylus traces groove details with a clarity that set new standards for vinyl playback. What sets the LP-12 apart is its modular approach. While other decks faded into history, the LP-12 invited change. Early versions ran on a basic power supply. But the arrival of the Valhalla in 1982 brought quieter operation and better voltage control. Later, the Lingo and Radical power supplies pushed performance further, each step reducing distortion and improving speed stability. Owners could swap in new bearings, suspension kits, or the Itok tone arm, renowned for its precision and transparency. Aftermarket upgrades, from reinforced sub-chassis to precision-machined arm boards, created a thriving ecosystem. No two LP-12s sound identical, each reflecting its owner's choices. Restoration is transformative. A neglected LP-12 with hardened grommets or a noisy bearing can be revived. A full overhaul with fresh grommets, bearing service, and a modern power supply costs between $800 and $1,500. The difference is immediate. Backgrounds darken, bass firms up, and the mid-range breathes. Before and after listening shows why enthusiasts invest. The LP-12 doesn't just play music, it reveals it. The economics reinforce its legend. A healthy parts market means upgrades are always possible. A fully restored and upgraded LP-12 fetches $2,500 to $4,000 or more, with values holding steady as new listeners discover its potential. Even after 40 years, it's the only deck from its era that can be rebuilt to modern standards without losing its soul. For buyers, the checklist is simple. Check grommet elasticity, bearing smoothness, and power supply age. Flaws aren't fatal, they are opportunities. The LP-12 rewards every upgrade, offering lasting value and a sense of ownership that deepens over time. No other turntable from the 1980s matches its blend of refinement, serviceability, and future-proof design. The LP-12 remains a suspended legend, renewed with each generation. Across all these vintage decks, one pattern stands out. True audio excellence is built on engineering, not nostalgia. The best 80s turntables remain prized because their precision and innovation still outperform much of what is made today. For audiophiles, these machines are not relics. They are the enduring standard. In hi-fi, real progress means never letting great design become obsolete. Which classic would you love to spin? Drop your pick in the comments below.